For loop. The for loop is used to iterate or go over a sequence or list of items. For example, I can say for pick any name of my choice for variable in the list of the items, which is the iterable. Then you put a full column and execute a block of code. That is the for loop. Don't forget, if you want to learn Python 101, data science, data analysis, web development, please kindly chat these numbers. Okay, we want to look at for loop. The for loop is used to iterate or to loop a certain number of times. For example, if I want to print "you are welcome" 3 times, I can use for loop to achieve that instead of typing or printing "you are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome." So for example, if I have for I, the I is what performs the iteration in range. Range will tell us the start and the beginning of the iteration. So I want 3 iterations. Then you put a full column. Now, what do I want to do for the first, second, and third iteration? I want to print "you are welcome." So it will print that 3 times. Let's run our program. You can see "you are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome." Now, the next example I want to go through is printing 0 to 9. If I want to print 0 to 9, I can say print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4. That is ridiculous. So I can use for loop to achieve that by saying for I is just a variable name that will perform the iteration in a number of steps in range. So from what point do I want to start till what point? Range. I can put range 10. So 10 means 10 numbers, and the first number is always 0. So start from 0 to 9. 0 to 9 means 10 numbers. If I want 5 numbers, that's 0 to 4. 0 to 4 means 5 numbers. But now I want 10 numbers, which is starting from 0. So print. So what does the iteration is this I. So the I will start from the first number 0. I goes to the second number 1. So I can print I. For each iteration, I want to be printing I. So let's run our program. So you can see 0 to 9. Now, another example I want to treat is print even numbers between 1 and 10. Now, you can say for I in range. Now, I can specify a particular starting position and the end position. I can say 1, if I say 1, 11, the range starts from 1 and ends just before 11, which is 10. If I say 1, 15, the range will start from 1 and end just before 15, which is 14. So I want 1 to 10. So I put 1, 11. Then what do I want to do? Now this I is what is going through 1, 2. So the first time the I picks 1, and I want to check that 1. So I'll say if I modulus 2. What this is doing is that it's dividing and returning the remainder. If I use a slash, that will be division, but here I'm using modulus. Modulus means take this I, which is 1, divide it by 2 and return the remainder. So if the remainder equals 0, then I want to print that number. That means the number is an even number. So print I. So to start with 1, after doing that, checking 1, if it is even number, it will print. If it is not, it will not print. It will go to 2 and check. It will come to 3 until it gets to the maximum range, which is 10. So that's the power of for loop. So let's run. Can you see it starts from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If I want to check the odd numbers between 1 and 10, it's the same thing. Odd numbers always return a remainder of 1. I will just put a 1 here, then run your code. You can see it's going to start from 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. These are numbers that returns remainder as 1. So in the next class, we are going to write a very simple game which will strengthen our knowledge on for loop. Okay, in order to strengthen our knowledge on for loop, we want to write a simple guessing game. We want the computer to generate a random number between 1 and 10. And to generate random number, we need a particular function called randint. So, but the randint cannot function until we call it from the random package. So we have to import a package called random. So say import random. So now we want the computer to generate the random integer between 1 and 10. So we want to store it inside a variable called secret number. So now we have access to the random package, so we can call the random package. And what we need in the random package is random randint. So we have randint between 1 and 10. So you have to add a number to make it 11. So if you want a random number between 1 and 20, you will say 1, 21. So this is the secret number. So automatically, if I run this program, a particular number is generated, which I too don't know the number, unless if I say print secret number. Okay, so now I want the user to guess the random number generated, but I want the guess to be 3 times. Then we have to employ the service of for loop, because I want the guess to be 3. So we have to say for, can say for I will step into the loop, but I want to use a variable name called attempt. For attempt in how many times, I'll bring my range 1 comma, because I want 1 2 3, so I put 4 between 1 comma 4. If you want 5 iterations, you say 1 comma 6. So I want 1 2 3, so you add 1, making 1 comma 4. Now during the first iteration, what do I want to do? I want to say enter your guess. I want the user to enter his guess, but that guess must be stored in a variable in order to compare it with the secret number. So let me say guess as a variable equals to input enter your guess. Now you are sure that enter your guess will appear how many times now? 3 times, because it's under the for loop. Wow. Now the guess that will be entered is we want it to be an integer, but anything coming from the keyboard that we type is seen as a string. So in order to convert it to an integer, we wrap it, we typecast with int. So now what is coming from you is now converted to int and stored in guess variable. So let's compare now. So still under the for loop, if guess, let's assume the first guess now. If the first guess is greater than the secret number, then want to print too hard. Now we want to test another condition. We use elif. Elif, it means if the first condition is not true, we want to go to this if condition. Elif, guess is less than the secret number. We want to print too low. Now we want to terminate in case the guess equals secret number. See, if it is greater than, less than, then the next one is equal to. So else, we can terminate with else. Print correct. So that means they are equal. Correct guess. Now, after making the correct guess, what do we want to do? For example, let's say the first attempt, the user make a correct guess. Don't forget, these attempts are supposed to be 3. So the computer will try to make all the, even while you guess right, the computer will try to make all the 3 attempts, 3 loops. But after the first attempt, the user gets it right. So we have to break out of the loop, just go away from the loop. So after going away from the loop, I want to just print that's outside the loop, game over. Print game over. That's very interesting game. So let's try to test our game now. Guessing number game between 1 and 10. You have 3 chances. Enter your guess. So let me say I enter 2. Too low. Let me enter 7. Too low. Okay. That means the guess should be around 8, 9, 10. Let me choose 9. Correct guess. You can see, and it prints game over. That means after having the correct guess, it breaks out of the loop and prints what is outside the loop. So now what if after exiting and it makes a 3 wrong guesses? So I want to tell it makes a certain number of wrong guesses. How do I achieve that? I can achieve that outside the loop. So try to think. Just say if attempt or if guess is not equals to secret number, then try to print a message. That's just the hint. Thank you. Okay. We want to look at iterating over a string. Welcome here is a string stored in the variable message. I want to iterate each letter. So how do I achieve that? I can use a for loop. For, use any variable name of your choice. I can use for I can use for car. Let me use for car in what is the string message. Now the car here, we go over the first string in the message, which is W. After getting W, it goes to E. So when it gets to W, what do I want to do? I want to print that car, which is the W. So W is not the last character. So it will go to E, L, and continue to print until the last character. That is the power of for loop. So let's test our program. So it prints W, E, L, C, O, M, E. Now let's look at a simple program to count number of vowels in a word. We declared a variable called vowels, which consists of the vowel in English language, and we want to check inside this word. For example, I want to check I. Is I a vowel? If I is a vowel, I want to count 1. Is N a vowel? So the count remains 1 because N is not a vowel. Is T a vowel? The count is still 1 because T is not a vowel. Is E a vowel? So I want to be checking each of this letter in vowel, which is A, E, I, O, U. So how do I achieve that? I can use a for loop. Now, I need a variable called count. Count will assist me to be counting. Count is initialized to 0. Why do we need count? Don't bother. You might not even initialize any count. By the time you need it, you will think about it. Let's look through this word. We are checking each of this letter one after the other. That is why we have to employ for loop. So for, let me use car in what word? For car in word, that means we want to start with I, followed by N, followed by T. Now, if you are starting with the first letter I, what do I want to do? I want to check if the first letter I, which is car here, is in vowel. So I'll say if car in the vowel. So if I is in A, E, I, O, U, I want to do something. I want to say count equals to count plus 1. So don't forget, the initial value of count is 0. So it will add 1 to 0. So that means count is now 1. Okay, that's not the end. It will check N. Is N in A, E, I, O, U? The answer is no. So the count is still 1. It will not. This statement is only executed if car is in vowels. If this N is in A, E, I, O, U. But the N is not there. So this will not get executed. That means the count is still 1. It goes to T, the same thing. The T is not there. It will not execute. Count equals to count plus 1. Now E. If E in vowels, E is in vowels. So definitely this count equals to count plus 1 will be executed. So the count becomes 2. Don't forget the initial count is 1. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. So the count is now 2. So that is how to grab the number of vowels in international. So at the end of the day, we can go outside the for loop and print. We can use our F string, F, Vera. What stores the number of vowels is count. There are count vowels in the word. That's in international. So let's run. Okay, let's run this. Oh, run. Okay, let's use so let's right click, run program. So there are 6 vowels in international. So let's confirm. I is a vowel 1, E is a vowel 2, A is a vowel 3, I is a vowel 4, O is a vowel 5, and A is a vowel 6. Okay. Now the next program I want to write, instead of printing the count, I want to print the vowels. It's a very simple program. So that means as soon as I find the vowel, I want to store it in a string. So I'm going to write that in the next class. Okay, so I want to print vowels in the word international. How do I achieve this? So in order to get the vowels, I need to store the vowels that I get in a variable. Let's call it vowels underscore found. And it will be initialized to empty string. So now let's iterate through this word international. So for example, if I iterate and let's say I pick I, that's the first iteration. If I is in A-E-I-O-U, then I want to store it in vowels found. I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's iterate through the word for, let me just say for car in word. So if car in the vowels, that's A-E-I-O-U. For example, it picks I as a first iteration, so it checks for I in A-E-I-O-U. You can see that I is in A-E-I-O-U. So if car in vowels, then what do I want to do? I'm not printing. I want to store it in vowels found. So how do I achieve that? So say vowels found equals vowels found plus the car. So the car is I. It will concatenate it with empty string, so and store it inside the vowels found. So the vowels found now will be equals I instead of empty string. It will go through the second iteration and check N, T, E. Now E. If E in vowels, E is vowels, yes, it will perform another concatenation. So that particular E concatenated with the I, and everything becomes the new string. That's I-E. So it will continue like that until it finds all the vowels. So let's print. So outside your for loop, that's where your print comes. Print F string. The vowels in international are, so the vowels in placeholder word. The word is international. I should say the words in international. The vowels in international are the vowels found. So let's try to run this program. Let's see our program. The vowels in international are A, I, E, A, I, O, A. Yes, this program is correct, but there is a challenge. The challenge is there are repetitions of vowels. I only want to return I once, E once, A once, and O once. How do I achieve that? That means I have to step up my program. So where would the logic be? You can see if car in vowels, that's the car is in word, which is the first I, is there. Now it meets another I. Can't I check if this car, which is the I, in vowels, yes, is in vowels, and not in the vowels found. You know, the vowels found has already gotten the I in this line. It has gotten the first I. So I want to check if the car in vowels and not in the vowels found. For example, it has found the first I. So that I should not be in the vowels found. That the second I should not be in the vowels found. So I can just come here and say, if car in vowels, I can just put this in bracket, and another condition, car not in vowels found. Okay, let's run this. So you can see I, E, A, O. So the letters are not repeated. So your own task is to check if you can arrange this in ascending order, probably from A, E, I, O. All right, so we meet in the next class. Okay, we want to iterate over a list using for loop. So we have a list of fruits. So fruits, that's the variable name, initialization. Then to have a list of items, use a square bracket, opening square bracket and closing square bracket. So we have items are apple, comma, banana, comma, cherry, comma, and date. So how do we get each of these items? So we can use a for loop. For, just say probably fruit, a variable name of your choice, fruits in fruits. So we are picking any name of our choice in fruits. So this fruit will access each of the item one after the other. So what do I want to do? I want to print. So print each fruit. So if you run the program, you're going to get apple, banana, cherry, date. Okay. Now append LWE before each item in the list. E.g., I want each item to look like this. LWE-1, LWE-2. How do I achieve that? For you to achieve, you have to iterate. And basically, the focus of this session is just telling you can iterate. And when you iterate, you can perform different wonders. So we are still going to treat a topic on lists. So for, we want each student ID. So we can just say stud or say stud ID in what is the list? Student ID. Okay, let me assume I want to print each student ID. But when I want to print, I want to attach LWE hyphen before each ID. So I can say print F string. So the F string will allow me to put this variable name in my string. So F string, I'm printing LWE hyphen. So for each ID, how do I get the ID? This stud is getting each ID for me. So how do I put in this variable name in the string? So I'll use a placeholder. Why or how is it possible for me to use a placeholder? Because I've put F before the string. So stud. So let's print. So you can see LWE1, LWE-2 and to 5. Okay, let's look at print. I want to iterate over these students, but I only want to print the items that begins with LWE. So trying to combine what we have done so far under string functions. So we want to combine it with iterating over a list. So let's first iterate for student in students. If now we have gotten the first item using this iteration, so now this first item is now a string. It's been isolated from the list. So is there a way we can just say if this particular string starts with LWE, then you print for me? Yes, we can do that. So we can say if student, which is the string now, LWE-01, that's for the first item, dot starts with LWE, then full column, then do something for me, print it, that print the student. So here it will print LWE-01. Now it will move to the next item, the next iteration, which is our if student, which is a while now, dot starts with LWE print, because a while does not start with LWE, it will not print. So it will only print LWE01, LWE02, and LWE03. Let's try to run the program. Can you see? LWE01, LWE02, and LWE03. Okay. Let's try to look at how to write a multiplication table using our for loop. We want to write 2 times table. In order to write 2 times table, let's try to write out what we need. We want 2 times 1 equals 2. We also need 2 times 2 equals 4. We need 2 times 3 equals 6 up to 12. So we need 12 iterations. Can we just start from that? So let's start for I in range 1, 13. Don't forget, I told you if you start from 1 and you want to end at 12, then you have to put 13 as the last number. So for I in range 1 to 12, that means we have covered the 12 iterations. Now the first thing I want to do, let me print. I'll print the output. I want to say 2 times 1. This is just a symbol. It's not a multiplication. 2 times 1. How do I get 2 times 1? Okay, let me print. Let me put it in string. 2, then I put a cross. That's my x. So how do I get a 1? How do I get, we're going to say 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4. So don't forget, I have said there should be an iteration from 1 to 3 here, so I can get the 1 from the I. So how do I put the I here? If I put I, it will only print 2 times I. So how do I get the variable I? Then I have to come to my F string, put F string here, then put the I. So it will start from the first iteration and put 1, 2 times 1, second iteration 2 times 2, third iteration 2 times 3 till it gets to 2 times 12. That's not the end. This equals, I want to perform the real multiplication here. So and I want to say place. Multiply 2 times 1. I need a placeholder. I can put my 2. Then the real multiplication will come here, which is my star. Multiply 2 by the first number, which is 1. How do I get the 1? It's still the I. So after doing 2 times 1 equals to 2 times 1, 2, it will go to the second iteration, 2 times, the second iteration will pick 2. 2 times 2 equals to 2 times the 2, that's the original multiplication now. It will be 4 here, 2 times 3, the I will be 3 here, it will multiply 3 by 2, it will be 6 here, 2 times 4, 8, and it will continue like that. Okay, let's run our program. Can you see? 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times 3, 6, 2 times 4, 8, till it gets to 2 times 12 equals 14. Okay, this has been a long video. Thank you for staying tuned. We meet in the next class. Goodbye. Okay, we want to look at nested for loop. What is nested for loop? It is a loop, or it is a for loop that has another for loop, or it is a for loop that has an inner for loop. That is what we call nested for loop. For example, let's say we have for I in range 1, 10. And under this, or within this for loop, I have another for loop for I in range, let's say 1, 3. So the for loop under this for loop makes this for loop a nested for loop. So in order to understand this better, let's try to look at times table. Now in this times table, we have 2 times table, 3 times table, we have 4 times table. So this is 3 loops. So which means I can iterate over this 3 iterations. So one for loop will cater for that. Now within each iteration, I have another loop. I have another iteration. So which means if I'm going for the first iteration, which is this, I still have another inner iteration I have to go over before moving to the second one here. So how do we achieve this times table? It's very simple. Now the first one is to go over all this. How many iterations are this? We have 3 iterations. So let's start. For I in range. Okay, where do we start from? We start from 2 because we have 2, 3, 4. We have 2, comma, and stop at 5. So 2, 5 means 3 iterations. We start from 2, 3, and end at 4. So you will not get to the 5, which is the last number. So 3 iterations are catered for this. Now after catering for that, I want to cater for the inner iteration. So that means for every first iteration, I want to go through the inner iteration first before going to the second iteration. So for, let me say J in range. Now this iteration is going to cater for the 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me say range 1, starting from 1, then end at 5. So it will end at a number before 5, which is 4. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? I want to print something to the screen. Let's explain. I want to say for the first iteration I'm going through, which is this, what's going to cater for this? For I in range 2, 5. So to pick 2 as the first value, 2. 2 is picked there. So let me print 2. So how do I get that 2? The 2 is coming from the I. So let me say I use F string I. So I've gotten 2. I want to get 2 multiply. I will use just a cross symbol, which is X. 2 multiplied by. Now I have to go through the inner iteration now, which is 1 to 4. I want to be getting 1, then get 2, then get 3, then get 4. Why the I is still constant? Why the 2 is constant? Don't forget, the 2 has to be constant because we have to finish the inner iteration before moving to 3. So the I here is 2, which is coming from the first iteration. It will be constant. So 2 times the inner iteration is going to start from 1, 2, 3, 4. So the inner iteration is J. So I've captured 2 times 1. The 1 will start from here, which is 1, 5. 2 times, then go through the second iteration as the inner iteration. 2. 2 times 3. 2 times 4. It will stop at 4 because the maximum value here is 5. So, but I want to multiply it really. So I'll put a placeholder. I multiply by the J. So what's going to happen here, after finishing the inner iteration, which is 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, and the inner iteration is exhausted, it will check outside the iteration. It will go to 3. It will be 3. The J is now 3. It will be, sorry, for I is now 3. It will be 3 times, the J will start from 1 again. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4. After exhausting the inner iteration, it goes to outside iteration again, that is 4. The I will now be 4. Now I say 2, 3, 4. So it'll be 4 times 1, 4 times 2. The 1, the 2, the 3 are the inner iterations. So let's run our program. Can you see this? 2 times 1 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4, 2 times 3 equals 6, 2 times 4 equals 8. To start from 3, 3 times 1 equals 3, 3 times 2 equals 6. But I need to put space after the first inner iteration. So the first inner iteration stops here. So I'll say print, just print. So run again. Wow. Can you see this? Okay, we want to look at the keyword parse, break, continue. What is parse? Anytime you use the keyword parse, it means you don't want execution. Let's look at a very good example. Let's say we have for I in range 1, 10. That means we want 1 to 9. Now, between 1 to 9, we want to say anytime you see an even number, don't do anything. Just look at it and continue. Okay? To say that, we'll just say if I modulus 2 equals 0, this is the short way of saying if I, the number, is an even number, that means the remainder equals to 0, then don't do anything, pass. Else, which means if it is not an even number, do something. What do we want to do? We want to print it. So we expect that this program will print only the odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Between 1 and 9. So that is the function of pass. Pass will not execute. It will skip. So the next one is break. Break is used to break out of the loop completely. Completely, just terminate. Don't do any other thing. Okay, let's say for example, we want to print, we want to access between 1 and 9. And anytime we see an even number, don't skip execution. Break out of the loop. Don't do any other thing. So let's say for I in range 1, 10, that's 1 to 9. If I modulus 2 equals 0, I want to break. That means if you see an even number, break out of the loop. But if you don't see an even number else, just print. So we expect that it will pick the first number, 1. Check 1. Is 1 an even number? The answer is no. It will not execute break. It will not break out of the loop. It will go to the else. So that means it will print 1. It will check the second number, 2, in the range. Is 2 an even number? Yes, so it will break out of the loop. So I'm expecting it to print just 1. Then break out of the loop completely. Let's run. You can see the answer is 1. Let's try to differentiate the first output and the second one by just saying print. Let's run again. You can see this second output 1. Now the third one we want to look at is continue. Continue will skip the current execution. Okay? To explain that better, let's write a simple program. So for I in range 1, 10, that's 1 to 9. If I modulus 2 equals 0, continue. That means if this is true, skip it. Skip that execution and move to the next execution. So as long as the number is an even number, it will skip that particular even number. That is the essence of the continue. Else, if the number is not an even number, always execute this for me. You have to print the number which is not an even number, print the I. So let's just have a break here. So here we expect it to do what? We expect it to print the odd number. When it gets to the even number, it should skip the even number. Okay. So it's printing only the odd numbers. When it gets to the even number, it skips the even number and go to the next iteration. So if the number is not an even number, it goes to the else part and print the number which is odd number. So that is that about this program. Now let's have a sample program to explain better continue. We have salaries of employees. Write a program to add $500 to everybody's salary except the one that earns $6,000 or more using continue. So the first thing we need to do is to iterate to the salary for sal in salaries. Now check. If sal is greater than or equals to 6,000, I want to skip it. That's continue, skip. Now else, which means if the salary is not greater than or equals to 6,000, come and do this for me. Just print sal, that's the sal that is not greater than or equals to 6,000, print the sal plus 500. That means add 500 now to that salary. That does not meet this condition. Let's try to run a program. So we have 4,500 added to this and $500 added to this. All right. We want to write a very interesting program called Grade Point Average, GPA. GPA is the program that summarizes the average performance of a student after the semester examination. So, how does it look like? Because it is very important for you to know how the output should look like before you start writing the program. The output will summarize the criteria or the requirement of the program. Okay, the output is by the right hand side. I want to ask the user of this program to tell me how many subjects does he or she wants to calculate the GPA. So 3 subjects, for example. So if it is 3, it means there must be 3 iterations. The first iteration is subject 1, enter score. Any score can be entered, enter credit hour, and the first iteration is exhausted. Second iteration is subject 2, and the third iteration is subject 3. Then after that, the GPA is calculated. So if you look at this program very well, you will see that we need to iterate using the for loop. So we will not just start writing the program. We look at the output and see a way to go about it. So the first thing we need here is not the complexity of the program. It is just the iteration. We start from the simplest. So let's iterate. We need 3 iterations. But before that, the iteration comes from how many subjects. If the user enters 5, it means we need 5 iterations. Don't forget, when you're iterating using for loop, you have to specify the beginning and the end of the iteration. So the number of subjects will give us the end of the iteration. So let's ask for the number of subjects. Number of subjects equals, I'm going to convert the input to integer. So int, then I ask for the input from the user. Input, enter, of just say how many subjects. How many subjects. Now, if the user enters 3, then it means we want to perform 3 iterations. So for I in range, now I can say start from 1 and end at 3. But this is not the best practice, because what if the user enters 5 iterations? How do we know that we need to go subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, subject 4, subject 5? So we cannot add code the 3. The 3 must be dynamic. So can we say the maximum should be number of subjects? Okay, we are now going to perform the iteration from 1 to 3. But don't forget, if 3 is here, it will stop at 2. It will always stop at a number before the max number. So the max number here is 3, so it will stop at 2. So it means it will go for 2 iterations. So for it to always go for the specified number of iterations, I have to put +1. So let's look at it now. If the user enters 3 iterations, it will start from 1, then it will add the 3, it will put the 3 here and add 1, that will be 4. So it will be 1, 2, 3. Don't forget, it will stop at a number before the max. The max here is going to be 4. So that is the essence of putting the +1. So now I have catered for this, which is how many subjects. The next one I want to cater for is subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. So for you to write subject 1, I can just say print. What is it going to print? Subject 1. But this is hard-coded. I don't want to hard-code it. I want it to be dynamic. The 1 should change to 2. The 2 should change to 3. So I have to put my f string here, f. Then this will be dynamic. So my I will be here. So the first iteration, it will write subject 1. The second iteration, it will write subject 2. And the third iteration, it will write subject 3. So I have catered for the subject 1. Now let me cater for this, enter score and enter credit hour. So that will just be a variable, score equals to, I'll convert it to integer, then take the input. Input, it will be enter score. Let me cater for the credit hour. So I can just say credit underscore hour equals int. I'm also going to convert that to integer, then input, enter credit hour. Now I have catered for subject 1, enter score, enter credit hour for 3 different iterations. Now let's assume I know the GPA, or I've calculated the GPA. Let me just print the GPA is, let me hard code it for now, 2.89. Let's run our program and see the output. Right click, run. You can see how many subjects. Let me say 3. Subject 1, enter score, let's say 34. Credit hour is 2. Subject 2, enter score, 55. Credit hour is 1. Subject 3, enter score, let's say 77. Credit hour is 1. So you can see the GPA is 2.89. For now, we hard coded the GPA. So in the next class, we are going to put in some logics to cater for the GPA. But before that, Let's add some spacing into our program to make it very beautiful. Now, after how many subjects, I want to leave a space between that and subject 1. So that means I have to find a way to put a space, or between subject 1 and subject 2, between subject 2 and subject 3. So let me add new line to each of the subjects before. So it means new line will be initiated before each of the subjects. So let's run the program again. How many subjects? 3. You can see there's a new line before subject 1. Let's say 34. And the credit hour is 2. Subject 2, let's say 55. Credit hour is 1. Subject 3, let's say 77. Credit hour is 1. And the GPA is 2.89. Okay. Now we are done with the first logic. The second logic is the main calculation of our GPA. If you come up here, you see some calculation or explanation about how the GPA will run. GPA equals total credit points divided by total credit hours. Total credit points, how do we get it? That's the first thing we need to get. We need to take grade point, multiply by the credit hour of the first subject plus grade point times credit hour of the second subject, and the same thing for the third subject. We add the 3 together. So here it means we still need to get grade point for each subject. As we iterate, we multiply it with its subject credit hour. Then we do that for the second subject and the third subject, and as we are iterating and adding these 2 for each subject, we are aggregating it or summing it into total credit point. At the end of the day, after summing for the 3 subjects, we get a single value divided by the total credit hours. Each of the subject has credit hour. For example, I put 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So that means we have to calculate total credit hours. So we have to add for each subject and continue to aggregate inside total credit hours to get the final answer. So the only thing that we need to figure out is grade point. What determines the grade point is the score. So by the time you enter a score, you can determine its grade point. So let's write the program to determine our grade point. So if score is greater than or equals to 70, then we want the grade point to be equals to or to be given a value of 4.0. Else if score is greater than or equals to 60, we want a grade point to be given a value of 3.0. Else if score is greater than or equals to 50, we want a grade point to be given a value of 2.0, and probably anything apart from that, such as 40, 30, we can decide that a value of 1 should be given. What about if the person enters very small value like 2 or 3? Let's just make it to be very simple. Let's say the grade point of any other value should be 1.0. That's the logic. So here we have determined our grade point. Now for us to finish this program, so we need to calculate the total credit points now. So before we use total credit points, we have to initialize. So let's come up here and initialize our total credit points. Total credit points, that will be equal to 0, because this is what we store the aggregate. So the aggregate must be equal to a particular value, which is 0. We also want to initialize our total credit hours. Total credit underscore hours So this will store the total credit hours because we need the 2 to actually find the GPA. So now, let's go to the logic. As the user is entering the score for each subject, the grade point is calculated and we can get the credit hour. So we need to aggregate our total credit points now. So let's come as the iteration is going. So we have total credit points equals to the current total credit points, which is 0, plus. Now, what is that thing that makes up the total credit point? It is grade point times credit hour for each subject. So we have the current grade point that is entered for the first subject multiplied by the credit hour. You can just bracket this. There is a shortcut to write this, but I don't want to go into that. I want to let us understand the logic very well. So this is the total credit. So for the first subject, total credit hour is 0 plus the grade point of that subject will be determined by the logic here. The grade point, for example, if the user enters 70, the grade point will be 4. So it will say plus 4 times the credit hour for that subject will be entered by user, let's say 2. So it will multiply the two together and store it inside credit hour and store it, add it to 0 and store it as the current total credit point. Now, the second iteration, the total credit point now has a value. So it will be the current value plus the second subject grade point times its own credit hour. It will be added to the initial credit point, which is a particular value, and that will be the new total credit point. And that will be done for the third subject, and that will be our total aggregate for the total credit point. Now we also need total credit hours. So total credit hours equals to total credit hours plus the credit hour. Don't forget, we are summing the credit hours for each of the subjects. So the first credit hour, let's say, is 2, will be added to 0 and be stored as the total credit hours. The second will be added to, let's say, 2 now, be added to the 2. Then the total will be stored as total credit hours. The same thing will be done for the third subject. Now we have gotten the 2 values that we need for our GPA. So we can now say, down here, the GPA, we need our F string. The GPA is now the GPA. So GPA equals total credit points divided by total credit hours. So the GPA is GPA. So let's run our program. How many subjects? 3. Subject 1, the score is 56. Enter the credit hour, let's say 2. Subject 2, 66. Credit hour is, let's say, 3. Subject 3, let's say 69. Credit hour, let's say it is 1. So we have the GPA to be 1.333, so we can round it off to 2 decimal place by coming here using the round function, round, put the GPA inside the round, GPA, then comma 2 decimal place. So let's run again. How many subjects? 3. Subject 1 score is 55. 2 has a credit hour, 77. 1 has a credit hour. Then let's say we have 23. 3 as a credit hour, and the GPA is 1.0.